Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for leading the chanting to all the devotees. Hari Bol. Start with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Let's start with our prayer, continuing from the last set of verses from Bhajagovindam Stotram by Sripad Adi Shankaracharya. So, anybody would like to sing? Okay, I'll continue then today and then read the translation. So we are doing last set of verses 21, 34. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Bhagavad Gita Kinjidadhita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita, Sakradapyena Murari Samarcha, Kriyate Tasya Yamina Charcha, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jఠरे Shayanam, Iha Samsare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare, Ratyacharpata, Virachita Kantha, Punya Punya Vivarjita Pantha, Yogi Yogani Yojita Cheto, Ramate Balon Matavadeva, Kastvam Koham Kutayatah Kame Janani Kome Tata Iti Paribhavaya Sarvamasaram Vishwam Tyaktva Swapna Vicharam Tvayimai Chanya Traiko Vishnu Vyartham Kopyasi Maya Sahishnu Bhavasamachitah Sarvatra Tvam Vanchasya Chiradyadi Vishnu Tvam Shatrau Mitre Putre Bandhau Makuru Yatnam Vigraha Sandhau Sarvasminnapi Pashyatmanam Sarvatra Sarvatrotsreja Bheda Jnanam Kamam Krodham Lobham Moham Yaktvatmanam Bhavayakoham Atmajnana Vihina Mudha Te Pachyante Narakani Gudha Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Deyam Shripati Rupamajasram Neyam Sajjana Sangye Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam Sukhatah Kriyate Rama Bhoga Paschadanta Sharire Roga Yadyapi Loke Maranam Sharanam Tadapani Munchati Papa Charanam Arthamanartham Bhavaya Nityam Nasti Tatah Sukhaleshah Satyam Putradapi Dhana Bhajam Bhiti Sarvatraisha Vihariti Pranayamam Pratyaharam Nitya Nitya Viveka Vicharam जाप्य समिता समाधिविधानं कुर्ववधानं महादवधानं गुरुचरणाम्बुज निर्भरभक्तः संसारादर संसारादचिरात् भवमुक्तः सेन्द्रियमानस नियमादेवं द्रक्ष्यसि निजहृदयस्थं देवम् मूढः कश्चन वैयाकरणो दुःखिनकरणाध्ययनधुरीणः श्रीमच्छङ्कर भगवच्छिष्यै बोधित आशिक्षोद्धितकर्णः भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते नामस्मरणा धन्यमुपायं न हि पश्यामो भवतरणे भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि रक्षति दुकृन्करणे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे हे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे भज गोविंदम स्तोत्रम की जय श्रीपाद आदि शंकराचार्य की जय जगतगुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय Yes, anybody would like to read the translations for 21 to 34?
I can read, Prophet.
You'll read Mataji? Yes, please. Go, Mataji.
Let a man, let a man read but a little from Bhagavad Gita, drink just a drop of water from the Ganga, worship Murari, Krishna just once. He then will have no altercation with Yama, the Lord of Death. Born again, death again, birth again to stay in the mother's womb, it is indeed hard to cross this boundless ocean of samsara. O Murari, redeem me through thy mercy. There is no shortage of clothing for a monk so long as there are rags cast off the road. Freed from the vice and virtue, onward he wanders. One who lives in communion with God enjoys bliss pure and uncontaminated like a child and as someone intoxicated. Who are you? Who am I? From where do I come? Who is my mother? Who is my father? Ponder thus, look at everything as senseless, and give up the world as an idle dream. In me, in you, and in everything, none but the same Vishnu dwells. Your anger and impatience is meaningless. If you wish to attain the quality of Vishnu soon, have some vow always. Do not waste your efforts to win the love of or to fight against friend and foe, children and relatives. See yourself in everyone and give up all feeling of duality completely. Give up lust, anger, infatuation, and grief. Ponder over your real nature. Fools are they who are blind to the self. Cast into hell, they suffer there endlessly. Regularly recite from the Bhagavad Gita, meditate on Vishnu in your heart, and chant his thousand glories. Take delight to be with the noble and the holy. Distribute your wealth in charity to the poor and the needy. He who yields to lust for pleasure leaves his body a prey to disease. Though death brings an end to everything, man does not give up the sinful path. Wealth is not welfare. Truly, there is no joy in it. Reflect this at all times. A rich man fears even his own son. This is the way of wealth everywhere. Regulate the pranas. pranas, life airs within, remain unaffected by external influences and discriminate between the real and the fleeting. Chant the holy name of God and silence the turbulent mind. Perform these with care and these care with extreme care. O devotee of the lotus feet, O devotee of the lotus feet of the Guru, may thou be soon free from samsara through, through disciplined senses and through disciplined senses and controlled mind, thou shalt come to experience the indwelling Lord of your heart. Thus, thus was a silly grammarian lost his in rules, cleansed of his narrow vision, and showed the light by some Sankara's apostles. Worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda, O fool. Other than chanting the Lord's name, there is no other way to cross the life's ocean. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhakti Mataji. Yes. So let's continue. Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrit, devotee of the lotus feet of the Guru, as Shankara is saying. So we have such nice disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are devotees of the lotus feet of their Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Let's read here. One second, let me share this again. Yeah, so we saw Prabhupada yesterday is now again continuing to inspire these young disciples all over from London to Los Angeles, New York to New Mexico, everywhere, or New York to New Vrindavan, and all the places where centers are starting. Prabhupada is communicating with the devotees in London, giving them inspiration, thanking them for the sincere determination that they are, despite all the challenges they are facing, they don't have a dedicated place, they are separated, all three couples, yet they are continuing to just have faith in what Prabhupada is saying, and they're getting enlivened by Prabhupada's letters. So I know you saw finally Prabhupada is now back in LA and he's performing their Rath Yatra, which is the third Rath Yatra. From 67 it started, and this is 69. So Prabhupada is finally taking part in this Rath Yatra. And we'll continue from here. Bhavananda. So anybody would like to read today? I'll continue. All right, Bhavananda. Everyone went wild. The sound was so uproarious, you were deafened under that bridge. Prabhupada was dancing and jumping on the cart. Naranarayana. He was dancing, and as he danced, his feet crushed the flowers. His garland broke, and flowers began cascading everywhere as he danced up and down. He was leaping very deliberately, almost like slow motion. Tamal Krishna. Prabhupada was jumping up and down, and the people went crazy, seeing him in complete ecstasy. He kept jumping and slowly turned around until he saw he was face to face with Lord Jagannath. Prabhupada sat down, and still the car didn't go, and the people were roaring. What do they want? Prabhupada asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I think they want to see you dance again, Srila Prabhupada. Tamal Krishna replied. Do you think so? Yes. He then got up and started dancing again. The white wool cap pushed to the back of his head, his arms extended, with the right hand still clutching the japa bead bag, his right forefinger extended, and long ropes flowing. The ecstatic chanting and dancing continued. After about 15 minutes, Narnarayan finally got the crank to work, and down came the canopy. Again, the cart moved forward under the bridge and on through the park. The crowd had grown now to 10,000. This was much bigger than any Krishna conscious festival ever held before. Bhavananda. Many of these people who attended Rath Yatra were intoxicated. We were not intoxicated, of course, but we were higher than they. That we could understand. Everyone was smiling, everyone was laughing, everyone was in ecstasy, everyone was dancing, everyone was chanting, and we were doing it more than anyone. We were doing more chanting, more laughing and smiling, and feeling more freedom. We were free to have a shaved head, free to wear a dhoti, free to blow a conch shell, free to spin around on the street and jump up. Even if you were a hippie, you couldn't be more far out than than the Rath cart and Jagannath, because no one looks more far out than him. The hippies had come dressed up in outfits with big feathers in their hair and everything, but they were dim compared to Lord Jagannath. The parade route ended at an oceanside dance hall, the family dog auditorium, where the devotees had prepared 10,000 feast plates of prasadam, fruit salad, apple chutney, halwa, and watermelon slices. Although the cart had stopped, the chanting continued as Prabhupada led the crowd inside the auditorium to a temporary stage and altar the devotees had erected among the bizarre trappings of the dance hall. A giant silk screen of Lord Chaitanya covered the hall's Tibetan mandala, and pictures of Lord Vishnu and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were on the stage. The Jagannath deities now looked down from their high platform above Prabhupada's seat, and a garlanded statue of Lord Krishna stood on a marble pillar. Prabhupada began speaking, and the crowd quieted. He quoted a song by Narottam Das Thakur. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful upon me. I do not find anyone as merciful as you. Drawing the audience's attention to the large silk screen of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada described the Lord's merciful distribution of the holy name of God. Lord Chaitanya, he said, was teaching the same thing Lord Krishna had taught in Bhagavad Gita. My dear sons, do not suffer in this abominable condition of material existence. Come back to me, come back to me, come back home. Enjoy eternal blissful life, a life of knowledge. Prabhupada explained the simplicity of Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago to establish the direct principles of Bhagavad Gita. He showed that even if you do not understand the process of religion, then simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The results are practical. For example, when we are chanting Hare Krishna, all the members who are assembled here were joining in. But now, when I am talking about philosophy, some are leaving. It is very practical. You can see the Hare Krishna mantra is so enchanting that anyone in any condition can take part. And if he continues to chant, gradually he will develop his dormant love of God. It is very simple. We are requesting everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and take prasadam. When you are tired of chanting, the prasadam is ready. You can immediately take prasadam. And if you dance, then all bodily exercise is Krishnaized, and all the attempts of the yoga processes are attained by this simple process. So, chant, dance, take prasadam. Even if you do not at first hear this philosophy, it will act and you will be elevated to the highest platform of perfection. In the middle of a winter of struggle came a fortunate break for the London devotees, a meeting with George Harrison of the Beatles. For a long time, the devotees had been thinking of ways to get the Beatles to chant Hare Krishna. To the Beatles' Apple Record studio, they had once sent an apple pie with Hare Krishna lettered on it. Another time, they had sent a wind up walking apple with the Hare Krishna mantra printed on it. They had even sent a tape of one of their kirtanas and had received a standard rejection letter from the Apple Records. So it seemed to be Krishna's special arrangement when Shamsundara suddenly met one of the most sought after celebrities in the world, George Harrison. In a crowded room at Apple Records, Shamsundara, shaven headed and wearing robes, sat hoping for a chance to have a few words with someone connected with the Beatles. Then George came down the stairs from a conference. As he entered the room, he saw Shamsundar. Walking over and sitting down beside Shamsundar, he asked, Where have you been? I've been trying to meet the Hare Krishna people for the last couple of years. Shamsundar and George talked together for an hour while everyone else hovered around. I've been really trying to meet you people, George said. Why don't you come to my place tomorrow? The next day, Shamsundar went to George's for lunch, where he met the other Beatles, Ringo Starr, John Lennon, and Paul McCartney. They all had questions, but George was especially interested. George. I had a copy of the Hare Krishna album with Srila Prabhupada singing Hare Krishna with the devotees. I'd had the record at least 2 years, but I got it the week it was pressed. I was open to it. You attract those things. So I used to play that a lot of the time. I was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra long before I met Shyam Sundar, Gurudas, and Mukunda. I was just pleased to hear the Hare Krishna mantra and have a copy of the record. And I knew about Prabhupada because I had read all the liner notes on that album. Having been to India, I could tell where the devotees were all coming from, with the style of dress and shaved heads. I had seen them on the streets of LA and New York, having read so many books and looking for yogis My concept of the devotees wasn't like the other people who think the devotees have all escaped from a lunatic asylum in their pajamas. No, I was aware of the thing and that it was a pretty heavy one, much more austerities than other groups, like no coffee, chocolate, or tea. Shamsundar continued to see George regularly, and they soon became friends. George, who had been practicing a mantra given to him by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, began to hear for the first time about Bhakti Yoga and the Vedic philosophy. He talked openly to Shamsundar, Gurudas, and Mukunda of his spiritual quest and his realizations of karma. George, a yogi I met in India said, "You are really lucky. You have youth, fame, fortune, health, but at the same time, that's not enough for you. You want to know about something else. Most people don't even get to the point where they realize there's something beyond that wall. They are just trying to get up on the top of that wall, to be able to eat and have a nice house and be comfortable and all that. But I was fortunate enough to get all that in time to realize there is something else to life, whereas most people get worn out just trying to attain material things." After a visit to Haight Ashbury in 1967, George had begun to feel guilty for his role in promulgating the LSD culture. He had had the impression that the hippies of Haight Ashbury were creative craftsmen, but when he saw them drugged, dirty, and hopeless, a West Coast extension of the Bowery, he felt partly responsible. He decided to use his influential position by writing and singing songs about something more than psychedelics and sex. He was also feeling an increasing interest in Indian spirituality, due, he felt, to karma from his previous lives. George, I feel at home with Krishna. I think that's something that has been there from a previous birth. So it was like the door was opening to me at that time, but it was also like a jigsaw puzzle. And I needed all these little pieces to make a complete picture. And that is what has been happening by the devotees and Swami Bhaktivedanta coming along, or some devotee giving me a book, or my hearing that album. It's all been slowly fitting together. And these are some of the reasons why I responded to Shyam Sundar and Guru Das when they first came to London. Let's face it, if I'm going to have to stand up and be counted, then I'll be with these guys rather than with those over there. It's like that. I'll be with the devotees rather than with the straight people who are the so called saints. George offered to help the devotees get a building in London, and he and Shyam Sundara spoke of making a Hare Krishna record. But Shyam Sundara never pressed him. George was the glamorous superstar, the quiet, serious Beatle, the fabulous guitarist and singer who had access to all the greats, to presidents and queens, wherever he went. And Shyam Sundara had a glamour of his own. He was tall, 6 feet 2, and although shaven headed, strikingly handsome. And he was a Vaishnava, fully dedicated to the Indian spirituality George was so fond of. When Prabhupada heard about George, he took seriously the possibility that George might fully take up Krishna consciousness. Carrying this to its logical conclusion, Prabhupada envisioned a world revolution in consciousness, spearheaded by the Krishna conscious Beatles. It is understood from your letter that Mr. George Harrison has a little sympathy for our movement, and if Krishna is actually satisfied on him, surely he will be able to join with us in pushing on the Sankirtan movement throughout the world. Somehow or other, the Beatles have become the cynosure of the neighboring European countries and America also. He is attracted by our Sankirtan party, and if Mr. George Harrison takes the leading part in organizing a huge Sankirtan party consisting of the Beatles and our ISKCON boys, surely we shall change the face of the world, so much politically harassed by the maneuvers of the politicians. For the London devotees, George's friendship heightened the excitement of Prabhupada's coming to London. Now that a world famous personality was waiting to meet Prabhupada, they felt perhaps they had another way to please him and to make preaching in London a success. George, by his association with Krishna consciousness and by dint of his own spiritual evolution, began to express his devotion to Lord Krishna in his songs. Reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, he could appreciate the superiority of the personal conception of God over the impersonal. Gurudas showed George the verse in the Gita where Krishna says that he is the basis of the impersonal Brahman. George liked the concepts of Krishna consciousness, but he was wary of showing exclusive devotion to Prabhupada and Krishna. The devotees therefore dealt with him accordingly, so as not to disturb him. On January 11, Srila Prabhupada wrote another letter to the devotees in London, expressing more ideas of how George could best serve Krishna. I'm so glad that Mr. Harrison is composing songs like Lord, whom we so long ignored. He is very thoughtful. When we actually meet, I shall be able to give him thoughts about separation from Krishna, and they will be able to compose very attractive songs for public reception. The public is in need of such songs, and if they were administered through nice agents like the Beatles, it will surely be a great success. Prabhupada cautioned the devotees not to simply depend on George for help, but to try to find a building themselves and rent it. George did want to help, however, and again he suggested the devotees make a record on the Apple label. An old favorite idea of the London devotees had been to get the Beatles to make a record chanting Hare Krishna. If the Beatles did it, the mantra would certainly become world famous. George liked the idea, but he preferred that the devotees sing it and he produce it on the Apple label. You guys make the money rather than we get it, he said. Let's make a record. So the devotees went over to George's house for a chanting session. George dubbed in his guitar, and a few weeks later the devotees returned and heard their tape. George was ready to try a session at the studio, so the devotees agreed to meet him and his musician friend Billy Preston at Trident Studios on St. Anne's Alley. They recorded for a few hours. The tape sounded good. George and Shamsundar agreed on a date for the actual recording. On the day of the recording, about a dozen devotees, including some newly recruited Britishers, assembled at EMI recording studios on Abbey Road. When the first group of devotees arrived in George's Mercedes, a crowd of teenagers began singing Hare Krishna to the tune popularized by the rock musical Hair. While Yamuna applied Vaishnav Tilak to the foreheads of the recording technicians, Malati began unpacking the picnic baskets of prasadam she had brought, and some of the other devotees put up pictures of Krishna and lit incense. The studio was Krishnaized. With Paul McCartney and his wife, Linda, operating the control console, the recording session began. Everyone worked quickly, making side making side one of the 45 RPM record in about an hour. George played organ and Mukunda played mridanga. Yamuna sang the lead with Shyam Sundar backing her, and the other voices blended in a chorus. And to make it come out exactly right, everyone concentrated on Prabhupada and prayed for spiritual strength. On the fourth take, everything went smoothly, with Malati spontaneously hitting a brass gong at the end. Then they recorded the flip side of the record, prayers to the Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya and his associates, and the six Goswamis. Afterward, George dubbed in the bass guitar and other voices. The devotees, engineers, everyone felt good about it. This is going to be big, George promised. As the record went into production, the devotees returned to their regular work, still living separately. Prabhupada set the time of his arrival for early September. He would go to Hamburg and then come to London. He said, even if there was no temple, miraculously, only 2 months before Prabhupada's arrival, things began to come together. Hari Bol. Okay, pause here. Hare Krishna. Yes, wonderful. So we see again Prabhupada's vision, like he was sitting there in New Vrindavan, gazing over the ridge and where the forest met the sky. His vision, his divine vision, of pure devotees. He could see what was going to happen in London, and yeah, all things are now starting to come come together. Um, Devotees are chanting, and he had, like, as if he knew, like, what's going to happen in future. He made sure that all these six devotees who went to London, they were properly trained in kirtan, right? And here we see world's kind of the most popular band of that time has now invited them, and they are George is himself telling them to record the kirtan, right? So that's just incredible how, like he was saying, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, everything falls into place. Like, we are not able to envision that, but pure devotees of the Lord who are empowered acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, they can see what's going to happen, and he personally trained Yamuna Mataji and all these devotees before they went to London. So it's just fascinating to read. Yes. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to share anything? Nobody has any other thoughts, anything that you liked from today's reading? So see how everybody was, all these six devotees are like, this Mataji was, or Malati Mataji unpacked Prashadam, Yamuna Mataji is putting on tilak, some others are putting out incense. So again, we see, yeah, they had learned so much from Prabhupada in just a matter of a year or two, and they're Krishnizing everything, the environment, right, the setup, the instruments, the not just the devotees, but the people who are there in the studios. They are Krishnizing them, and then they started the recording. So it's like it's just unbelievable to think. Like we put ourselves in their shoes. Like in a matter of few months of association with Srila Prabhupada, sometimes not even few months, just few days of association, how much they learned from him, how much they really imbibed his teachings, not physically, even though he was not physically there with them, right? So that shows again how much is possible to learn from the instructions of the spiritual master. If we sincerely follow his instructions, then we can learn so much and we can apply them in our lives so much that they didn't even have background of coming from a Vedic culture, from knowing who Krishna is, what our Vedic Sabhyata, what our Sanskriti is, what the simple practices of bhakti are, but just by listening to him, just by interacting with him through letters, by reading his books, they have learned so much in a matter of just few months. So if they can do it, that means, of course, yeah, they're carrying some of that bhakti lineage from their previous lives. So do anybody in this world. And if we sincerely follow Prabhupada and his instructions, then we can also perfect our lives that way. Yeah. Okay, any other reflections?
Hare Krishna. So I was thinking that Krishna is all attractive, and he attracted Beatles as well. And something I didn't knew that George Harrison was already trying to meet Hare Krishna devotees before he met Shyam Sundar Prabhu. So that was something new I learned today. That he was already waiting. He said he was waiting almost a year to meet them. Um, that shows, that even before meeting devotees, just hearing Prabhupada's uh, record he had and reading about Prabhupada was attracting him. Although he was spiritually seeking a lot of paths. We know that he went to India, but yeah, Prabhupada Mahamantra was attracting him. So we know Krishna is all attractive. He will attract everyone's heart and mind.
Mm-hmm. Hare Krishna. 2 years, he said, actually, 2 years. He looks like he had heard Srila Prabhupada in 1967 when he came to California. So, yeah, 2 years. But yeah, like Prabhupada says, like chanting, dancing, and prasadam, nobody can tire from that. And nobody, like philosophy, when Prabhupada says, when I speak philosophy, some people are leaving. But when we are chanting, dancing, a crowd of 10,000, everybody wants prasadam, of course. Uh, like funnily, Guru Maharaj used to say, when we do chanting, you know, everybody is enjoying, right? As soon as we start start a lecture, everybody is starting to doze off, right? So he says, have you ever seen anybody dozing off while chanting and while dancing? No, or especially not while eating prasadam, right? So those are the three things. Nobody dozes off or nobody leaves when we are chanting and dancing, singing, jumping in Sankirtan, and while we are honoring Prashadam. So that's Prabhupada saying that is the first thing, primary thing we should do. Yeah, and then philosophy, of course, as slowly and slowly the heart gets cleansed. Even hearing one sentence, one word, sometimes can have a big transformative change in the hearts of many people. So yeah, but it's a gradual step-by-step process. Bhakti is not like a sprint, it is a marathon, right? So step by step through the process of Navada Bhakti and stages of progression from Shraddha to Bhava and Prema. It all happens gradually if we stick to the path, following the instructions of the Acharyas. Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your association as always. Let's conclude here with Vaishnava Pranam prayers. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय नीताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna.